So, firstly, I'd like to say how grateful I am to everyone who commented on or shared the last video, and especially to those who reached out afterward. The view count, whilst modest by algorithmic standards, far exceeded any expectations I might have held. I also received a host of direct questions, and if you were among those who got in touch, thanks, I genuinely appreciate it. Before we go any further, let me be absolutely clear in saying that this is not even remotely about me. It's about all of you, about the creative community. Nothing I'm saying is rare, and it certainly isn't radical. I'm not an authority, and I'm not brave for saying any of this. I'm not here to mine our collective frustration, nor am I indirectly outlining my own challenges in search of sympathy. I'm here to start a conversation. Better still, to encourage fellow creatives to voice their own experiences, with honesty. Because if we can do that, and do so productively, I believe that we can elevate one another. As you'll be aware, I'm not a household name. I'm just someone who wants you to know that if I've been able to carve out even a modest creative career, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't do the same. And no reason at all why you couldn't go even further. Now, as I've said, this has to stay productive and move beyond catharsis. And with care, I'd like to share a few of the exchanges I had following the last video. I believe there's value in them for anyone inclined to listen. Some of these questions were practical in nature, and I'll address these in a separate video later this week. Topics like getting started in creative freelancing, and yes, the ever-contentious one, should you work for free? A divisive subject, and one I was asked about no fewer than 3 times. It's important to note that that video won't be a step-by-step manual, but I will share some core principles, ones that helped me, which might serve you just as well. But before we get there, and the reason we're not leaping straight into it is because I felt a sense of responsibility to address something more fundamental, I suppose you might say. Something that I believe is a prerequisite for any of this or any of that to matter. A handful of messages stood out for another reason entirely. They carried a quiet undercurrent of resignation, sometimes subtle, sometimes explicit. A mindset that was hovering dangerously close to self-defeat. Now, I want to approach this with care. I don't pretend to know anyone's full story. I'm yet to make sense of my own entirely. So what I'm about to say is not a blanket judgment, but I do believe this. When someone convinces themselves they are uniquely disadvantaged, when they internalize this idea that the system is rigged specifically against them, it does risk becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that is something I find deeply disquieting, because we deserve better than to be held hostage by self-pity and the lies that it tells us. As I say, I can't speak to your exact circumstances, but I can tell you this. I've been rejected and carried heavy disappointments. I've been underpaid, disrespected, ignored. I've had projects collapse at the final hurdle, projects that might have changed the entire trajectory, and I've watched them vanish. It would be most convenient to allow these moments to define me, to grow bitter, to retreat, adopting a sort of noble cynicism, to blame a gamed system or a broken market. But the thing is, none of it was personal. And the same holds true for your own disappointments. They're inevitable. Failure, unfortunately, is a feature. Let it inform your approach, but not your attitude. No one's handed the keys to the kingdom, but no one's inherently cursed either. And if you've already concluded that the system is rigged and there's no point in trying, placing yourself in the corner is exactly where you'll remain. I say this not to speak down, but because I do care. I'm tired of seeing talented people gaslit into silence, or worse, gaslighting themselves into inertia. We've all been disillusioned and had moments of despair, but for heaven's sake, stop blaming everything and everyone else. Now, let me be blunt for a change. If you have the time and the means to watch this video, then statistically speaking, you are among the more privileged half of the global population. That's not a judgment, but it is a reminder. The deck may not be stacked in your favor, but you're still at the table. Do the work. Do it for yourself. Do it for your peers. Don't do it for some guy on a screen, because again, this isn't about me. I'm not speaking from a position of superiority. I'm speaking with you. one of many. This is about all of us, and we owe it to one another. I'm not trying to build a platform, and definitely not just for the sake of it. I have no desire to become a content creator. I'm one of those awkward types who, the moment they spot someone they know in public, instinctively looks for an escape route, and I couldn't tell you why. Besides the point, perhaps, I take no joy in self-promotion, but when I do see an opportunity to offer something useful, I'll take it. I implore you to do the same, especially if it lifts someone out of a self-limiting mindset, because that's what we owe one another. Not hollow encouragement, but honest, frictional conversation. I've seen, as I'm sure you have, far too much defeatism and shoulder patting there, especially on LinkedIn, a parade of woe is me, dressed in a dozen colours, and between you and I, it repels me. I hope none of this comes across as condescending. It isn't meant to be. I want to offer sympathetic ears above all else, but true support isn't just comfort, it's also challenge. Sometimes that means pointing out when an attitude is counterproductive, or to put it more bluntly, bollocks. Times are hard. That's precisely why I'm speaking now. I'm immersed in work, but this warrants interruption. Because the collective state that we're in won't improve if we don't address it. I mentioned it a couple times already, but I'm not qualified to give bespoke advice, not even if I knew your situation inside out. And I'm certainly not here to spoon-feed aphorisms or motivational platitudes. After all, it would be easy to say, oh, if you can't land work, don't sit around, go make something that demands attention. If you feel invisible, create something the world can't ignore. Great sentiments, perfect for motivational posters. But what do you actually do with that? Let me offer something that I feel is more practical instead. A challenge of sorts, a challenge to yourself. Did you do everything in your power today to move your creative goals forward? Even for just 1 hour? If yes, fantastic. Tomorrow, do 2. The distractions will wait, I assure you. Your mindset is either your greatest asset or your most dangerous liability. The role you give it is entirely up to you. So, what shall we do about it? Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay sharp.